Welcome to this edition of Writing in My Head. It is me, Claudette Freeman. Hope you are well this week. Listen, I want to talk to you about something. People always ask where do story ideas come from, and for me, they come from the strangest things, right? So one evening, I believe it was, hang on, I can check my calendar here and tell you, the beginning of August 2026. I was at a birthday dinner at a wonderful little restaurant called Las Vegas Cuban Cuisine. By the way, totally off record, but they make an incredible tres leche cake if you like that kind of thing. In any event, we were at the restaurant celebrating a birthday. And as always, I'm looking around all over the place because it's just something that I do. I need to know where exits are. I need to know what people look like. I think I've watched too much CSI and all of that kind of stuff. So I noticed this scene in a corner and it grabbed my imagination. And I thought, what interesting story elements and what interesting story could come from that, right? And let me explain it to you, and I'll try to post a picture of it as well. But it was a yellow tambourine on a brown table with no other dressing on it, sitting next to an empty brown wing chair with a green cushion. And next to it was a potted plant, right? But for whatever reason, I kept looking back at that table and at that setting because I felt a story there. Not in a woo-woo kind of way, but there was a real story brewing there. And I think as literary artists, that's what we have to do sometimes, not force ourselves to write what we want to write, but write what the story in front of us is calling us to engage with, right? So I posted this on my Facebook page and kind of asked my writing friends to chime in. And so Rebecca Pierce, you need to check out her work. Wonderful writer, Rebekah Pierce, Pierce. Rebecca was the first one to jump in, and she wrote about Sister Johnson being tired of them children and that no good Gussie. Um, Wonderful piece. I'm not going to give you all of it because she may decide to do something with it, and I want to respect her privilege to do that. And then Margaret Joyner, amazing playwright. Also, check her out. Amazing playwright, costume designer, writer. Wrote about Sister Manengault, who is the baddest tambourine player in the church, and everybody knows it. Terry Cook Bailey, do check her out as well. She's on Substack and all over social media. Wrote about not believing that she was back in a certain place again in the collection basket and witchcraft. I love it, right? And then Joshua Cotter, the only male brave enough to chime in, um, opened his piece with Mother Allen was crazy, right? She was the first to hoop and holler, but she was a bit much. And then one day, Mother Allen just didn't appear at church. But I'll leave that there. I was amazed at how each of them saw the tambourine in the context of the church. And because they're all African American, I would say in the black church, and the tambourine is a major thing in the black church. I remember growing up in our little neighborhood Baptist church, and every mother of that church had a tambourine. And when one got playing, it's like it set off something in the church. I'm telling you, these women could play the tambourine in a way that I promise you, I believe angels responded to, right? I believe angels responded to every tap on those tambourines once they got going because it was powerful, right? So a couple of slaps or taps on the tambourine and the jingling and all of that stuff. And then the next thing you know, you've got deacons who are doing um, different kind of things, and you got people in the church crying out in praise, and it became an energy in a movement that as a kid you were probably a little intimidated and afraid of, but at the same time you knew that you were watching something so spiritually powerful that you had to just kind of sit in a moment of awe and reverence. And obviously, if you dared to say the wrong thing about it, and your parents heard you, you were going to get that pinch on the thigh, or you were going to get that tap upside your head with the church fan. So respect the tambourine and respect the tambourine players and the spiritual power that they brought to the atmosphere, right? But interestingly, even with those vivid memories, I didn't go to the black church when I saw that scene. When I saw that yellow tambourine on that brown table next to that empty chair that sat right in the corner of a room where people could have private parties and private events, what I felt was heartbreak. What I felt was a woman who was absolutely full of the blues, right? And I could see this woman so amazingly clear and almost feel her pain. And what I saw was a gorgeous woman, flowing black, wavy, curly hair, wearing one of those, I don't want to call it the wrong thing, but it's the very vibrant color outfits that or costumes that flamenco dancers kind of wear. Um, and this woman was absolutely gorgeous. And what I could imagine was she had come to this place thinking one thing. She had come to this place to celebrate the man that she truly loved, and she had prepared this wonderful performance for him at this event. And when she got to the door of that event, right by that table, and looked inside of that room, what she saw absolutely shattered everything in her. And at that moment, she released that tambourine on that table and ran out of there. But it was almost like in that scene, her spirit still sat there. Her spirit was still lingering there, hoping that what she saw was not true, hoping that the level of heartbreak and pain that she had experienced that evening or that day wasn't real. And so she kept coming back to this spot, wearing the same things with that tambourine, hoping to see something different. But she didn't, because obviously when she would come back, the room would be empty, or other families or other friends and other events would be going on in that room. But she would sit in that chair next to that table with her hand on that yellow tambourine, hoping against all hope, believing that her heart and mind had played an awful trick on her, and soon that scene would change for her. I don't think it ever did. Now, I haven't written this story because sometimes some things I think you write, and some things I think you have absolute creative imagination and fun with, just to make sure you still got it. You can work up a story. You can look at something that's not really connected to you and connect it to something powerful. Yeah? So that's what I kind of got from that yellow tambourine on that table. And I imagine that she probably came back to that spot time and time after again, um, looking and hoping, but maybe even waiting for him to say he made a mistake and she was the one for him after all. So she waited. She was hoping and looking and waiting and believing. And isn't that what so many of us do in romantic relationships? We hope this is the one. She is going to be the one that I am going to make my wife. He is the one that I would give my life for. And then truth happens, life happens, situations happen, and we hope against all hope. We look for a change. We wait for someone new and that same person to come along. And that's what that yellow tambourine on that brown table next to that brown chair with that green cushion, which sat next to a big flower plant, spoke to me. So, days after, as I thought about it some more, I started to ask myself some questions. How many times, how many years did she go back? And what finally made her leave the tambourine on the table and return no more? Was it that the people that own the restaurant told her, you got to stop doing this, you're scaring our clients? Or was it that she finally just had a moment where she decided she would either accept death of her by her broken heart, or she'd wasted enough years and she wanted to figure out a way to live again? I haven't decided yet. And again, I haven't written the story, but I was definitely captured by that yellow tambourine and that very blue soul. Hmm, who knows? Maybe I'll write it one day after all. What do you think? So that's what's writing in my head this episode. Take care of yourself. Keep writing, keep imagining, keep trusting your words and your stories to come. Talk to you next time.